Venture into this gripping tale with us, as we navigate the life and times of Uganda's most notorious dictator, Idi Amin. Rising from the ranks, a charismatic military leader seized power in 1971, casting a dark shadow with his cruel reign, nearly 500,000 lives silenced, an entire Asian community driven away, and a daring airline hijacking that captured global attention. This is the chilling saga of Idi Amin, a blend of charisma and savagery, a ruler whose ruthless legacy forever scarred the annals of history. Chapter 1. Young Amin, Roots of a Dictator. The vast terrains of the West Nile region, bordering modern-day Sudan and DR Congo, witnessed the birth of Idi Amin around 1925. Little is known about his early days, shrouded as they are in mystery and myths. But snippets from those who remember him paint a picture of a charismatic young man, fiercely loyal to his Kakwa roots. By 1946, the young Amin stepped into a larger arena, joining the King's African Rifles, a regiment serving British colonial interests. As he donned the uniform, few could predict the meteoric rise that awaited this son of Uganda. Chapter 2. 1950s to 1960s, the military prodigy. Africa in the late 1950s was a cauldron of change. Colonies became countries, and subjects became citizens. In the midst of this transformation, Amin found his calling. Climbing the ranks with unprecedented speed, he was soon entrusted with crucial missions. Yet, his rise wasn't just about official accolades. Whispers traversed the barracks of Amin's dark involvement in quelling rebellions. Tales from the bloody battles against the Shifta rebels painted a portrait of a man relentless in pursuit and unforgiving in victory. The Mau Mau uprising in neighboring Kenya was another chapter where Amin's ruthlessness was on display. Yet, to the higher-ups, Amin was invaluable, a force of nature, and an asset in a volatile political landscape. However, the very traits that propelled his rise, ambition, ruthlessness, and audacity, would also sow the seeds of future tumult. Chapter 3. The Silent Rise, Aligning with Obote. The political tapestry of Uganda in the 1960s was a complex weave of tribal loyalties, colonial legacies, and emerging nationalistic fervor. Enter Milton Obote, a charismatic leader from the north, who had masterfully navigated his way to become Uganda's first prime minister. As he steered the nation into the post-colonial era, Obote was acutely aware of the shifting sands of Ugandan politics. Amidst this intrigue, he found an unexpected ally in the young, formidable Major Idi Amin. Their alliance was born out of mutual necessity. Obote needed the loyalty of the military, and who better than the rising star of the Ugandan army? For Amin, it was a chance to climb further, to have a seat at the high table of power. Together, they plotted against the traditional monarchy, sidelining the Kabaka, the king of Uganda, and centralizing power. However, as the saying goes, there are no permanent friends in politics, only permanent interests. And in the labyrinthine corridors of Ugandan power, this adage rang particularly true. Amin's ambitions were not just limited to military prowess. He had tasted power, and he yearned for more. Obote, sensing the undercurrents, grew wary. Their alliance, once a symbol of combined strength, began showing cracks. Tensions simmered beneath the surface, and Uganda stood on the precipice of a seismic shift. Chapter 4. 1971, the coup. The dawn of January 25, 1971 was like any other in Kampala, Uganda's vibrant capital. But as the sun climbed higher, the city would soon find itself in the grip of history's relentless march. Milton Obote, confident in his rule and position, was thousands of miles away in Singapore, attending a Commonwealth summit. But back home, the ground beneath his feet was shifting. Idi Amin, once his trusted ally, had other plans. The whispers of dissent had transformed into a strategic, well-planned orchestration. As the city's residents went about their day, troops loyal to Amin swiftly took control of key installations, radio stations, and government buildings. The news broke on Radio Uganda: the army had taken over, to save Uganda from Obote's corrupt regime. The narrative was clear, the change was framed as a necessary intervention. To many, it was a shock. There was no bloodshed, no prolonged struggle. The swiftness of Amin's move caught everyone off guard, including international observers. Diplomats, journalists, and politicians scrambled to understand the implications. But for Amin, it was the culmination of ambition, strategy, and opportunity. As the world tried to make sense of the rapid developments behind the walls of State House, a new chapter for Uganda was being penned. One that would be marked by grandeur, unpredictability, and a charisma that often bordered on the surreal. The destiny of Uganda was now in the hands of Idi Amin, a man whose dreams stretched far and wide, whose hunger for power was insatiable. The stage was set for one of the most tumultuous eras in Africa's post-colonial history. Chapter 5. Rule of Terror begins. The morning after Amin's triumphant coup, Moses, a teacher in Kampala, recalls how he was jolted awake, not by the rooster's crow, but by the unnerving clamor of military boots on the streets. The nation, which once thrived on the rhythms of daily life and the hopeful tunes of independence, found itself ensnared in a symphony of fear. Amin, sensing the fragile nature of his newfound authority, embarked on a chilling campaign to snuff out any embers of resistance. Qasim, a former military officer and a childhood friend of Amin, remembers the changing tide. There was a time they would share jokes, dreams, and even secrets, but under Amin's rule, such camaraderie was a distant memory. Officers, especially those from the Akoli and Lango ethnic groups, were lured into alleged meetings. Qasim narrowly escaped one such rendezvous, but many of his comrades weren't so lucky. The city's whispers spoke of friends who vanished, leaving behind families who oscillated between hope and despair, their grief intensified by the absence of closure. Beyond the military echelons, the terror seeped into the daily lives of ordinary Ugandans. Akello, a market vendor, speaks of a time when her children grew accustomed to the sight of roadblocks, where soldiers played judge, jury, and executioner. Nighttime stories once filled with folklore and wisdom transformed into whispered accounts of the State Research Bureau. Amin's secret police became an embodiment of the boogeyman, with tales of unfathomable cruelty, dungeons of despair, and heartless dispatches. The once revered State House became a symbol not of national pride but of collective nightmares. Estimations suggest up to 500,000 lives were extinguished during Amin's regime. And behind each number, there's a name, a face, a story. Nalongo, a mother of twins, tears up when she recalls the dreams she had for her children, only to see them crushed beneath the weight of tyranny. As the world watched from a distance, the fabric of a promising nation was being brutally shredded, all for one man's twisted quest for dominance. Chapter 6. 1972, Expulsion of Asians. The year was 1972. Uganda, under Amin's iron grip, was experiencing a series of sweeping changes. But in August, a decree was announced that would not only alter the socio-economic landscape of the nation but also leave an indelible mark on its history. With an air of divine conviction, Amin declared he had received a vision in a dream. A message directly from God, he claimed, commanding him to cleanse Uganda of its Asian population. The Asian community, many of whom had lived in Uganda for generations, were given just 90 days to leave the country. Their only crime? Their ancestry. As panic ensued, the once thriving Asian districts turned into scenes of chaos and heartbreak. Families scrambled to pack up lives built over decades, often forced to leave behind homes, businesses, and memories. Amin's government quickly moved to seize assets, businesses, and properties. Opulent shops, industries, and estates were suddenly handed over to Amin's loyalists or left to decay. The economic ramifications were immediate and catastrophic. A nation that once boasted a flourishing trade environment now grappled with economic downturns and inexperienced management. Over 50,000 individuals, holding British passports but with hearts rooted deep in Ugandan soil, were forced into an exodus. Families were torn apart, with many separated in the rush, unsure if they'd ever reunite. The world watched as a vibrant community was uprooted overnight, their stories of pain, loss, and resilience becoming a testament to the human spirit's ability to endure and rebuild. The expulsion of the Asians is not just a chapter in Uganda's history, it's a haunting reminder of the devastating consequences of unchecked power and xenophobia. Chapter 7. The Global Showman. While nations around the world struggled to make sense of the enigmatic leader at Uganda's helm, Idi Amin was basking in the global limelight. Here was a man whose unpredictability became his most predictable trait. Flamboyant, unabashed, and always eager for the cameras, Amin transformed Ugandan politics into a theatrical spectacle. Lavish state functions were the order of the day, with foreign dignitaries and journalists treated to opulent feasts and mesmerizing performances. And then there were the titles, a mouthful of grandiosity that Amin conferred upon himself: His Excellency, President for Life, Field Marshal Al-Haji Dr. Idi Amin Dada, VC, DSO, MC, Lord of all the beasts of the earth and fishes of the seas and conqueror of the British Empire in Africa in general and Uganda in particular. Such audacious self-aggrandizement was a testament to Amin's larger-than-life persona. But perhaps nothing captured the world's imagination more than Amin's playful challenge to Julius Nyerere, the revered Tanzanian president. A boxing match, he suggested, to settle their differences. The audacity, the humor, the sheer brazenness of it all, Idi Amin was nothing if not a master performer on the global stage. A hijacking, a heroic raid, and Amin's ambiguities. June 27, 1976. An ordinary summer's day became a harrowing turning point in aviation history. Air France Flight 139, carrying 248 souls from Tel Aviv to Paris, is hijacked. On board are 2 members of the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine and 2 from the German revolutionary cells. Their agenda? The release of Palestinian prisoners held in Israel and comrades detained in several other countries. But instead of reaching the City of Lights, the jetliner is redirected over 2,000 miles away to the heart of Africa, Entebbe, Uganda. Here, in this unexpected backdrop, President Idi Amin enters the stage. While the world watched in shock, Amin, ever the showman, appeared to welcome the hijackers and their captives. Publicly supporting the terrorists, he further entangled Uganda into this international crisis. As the days wore on, a chilling selection took place. Israeli and Jewish passengers were isolated, their fate hanging precariously in the balance. The rest? Released. 106 lives remained tethered to the demands of the hijackers, with Idi Amin playing a double game of mediator and enabler. But 2,500 miles away, a daring plan was being hatched. Israel, refusing to negotiate with terrorists, chose a path of audacity over diplomacy. Their goal? To bring their people home. July 4th, under the cover of darkness, Israeli commandos touched down on Ugandan soil. Within a mere 90 minutes, they shattered the hijackers' plans, saving 102 hostages. Yet, victory came at a price. 4 hostages and Yonatan Netanyahu, the mission's leader and the elder brother of a future Israeli prime minister, lay dead. Amin's response was swift and brutal. Ugandans paid the price for an operation he saw as a humiliation, deepening the wounds of his already tarnished international reputation. The audacity of the Entebbe raid stands as a testament to resilience in the face of terror. Yet, it's also a chapter in the complex and enigmatic rule of Idi Amin, whose alliance with the hijackers remains a stark reminder of his unpredictable and often ruthless reign. Chapter 8. Economic Downfall. But behind the curtains of Amin's extravagant performances lay a nation in deep turmoil. Uganda, once heralded as the Pearl of Africa for its economic promise, was spiraling into chaos. The expulsion of the Asian community had left an irreplaceable void. Their businesses, the backbone of Uganda's economy, were either in ruins or in the hands of those ill-equipped to manage them. The consequences were swift and brutal. Inflation rates skyrocketed, turning daily essentials into luxuries. Shops were either empty or filled with goods that few could afford. The infrastructure, once a symbol of Uganda's progress, began to decay. Roads crumbled, power outages became frequent, and vital services were on the brink of collapse. Farmers, the heart of Uganda's agrarian economy, struggled with plummeting prices and lack of access to markets. The urban centers, once bustling with activity, were now marred by unemployment and despair. The sheen of Amin's charisma was fading, revealing a nation paying the price for its leaders' reckless decisions. Chapter 9. 1978, The Tanzanian Misadventure. The winds of 1978 carried an air of tension across East Africa. The borders, often just lines on a map, became flashpoints of animosity. At the center of it all was Idi Amin, whose audacious reign had seen a series of dramatic highs and devastating lows. But that year, Amin made a gamble that would change the course of Uganda's history. Motivated by a mix of territorial ambitions, perceived slights, and perhaps a touch of hubris, Ugandan forces under Amin's command crossed the southern border, penetrating deep into Tanzanian territory. It wasn't just an invasion, it was a bold statement. A proclamation that Amin's Uganda was not to be trifled with. But Julius Nyerere, Tanzania's seasoned leader, was not one to be underestimated. Having navigated Tanzania through the intricacies of post-colonial Africa, he saw through Amin's brash tactics. With a blend of strategic brilliance and nationalistic fervor, he mounted a formidable counteroffensive. Tanzanian forces, highly disciplined and driven by a sense of purpose, clashed fiercely with the Ugandan invaders. It wasn't just the Tanzanians Amin had to worry about. Ugandan rebels, long stifled under Amin's oppressive regime, saw an opportunity. Joining hands with Tanzanian forces, they formed a coalition of determination and resolve. Together, they pushed back against Amin's army, reclaiming towns and cities one by one. By April 1979, the drums of victory echoed across the streets of Kampala. Tanzanian forces, alongside their Ugandan allies, entered the city, marking the end of Amin's tumultuous reign. It was a moment of reckoning, a testament to the dangers of overreach and the power of unified resistance. Chapter 10. Exile, the Lion in Winter. From the grand halls of power in Kampala to the unforgiving streets of exile, the trajectory of Idi Amin's life took a swift downturn. The man who once roared his proclamations and sent shivers down spines was now displaced, a king without his kingdom. Amin, the self-declared conqueror of the British Empire, was suddenly a fugitive on the global stage. His first sanctuary came in the form of Libya, where Muammar Gaddafi, another African strongman with shared sentiments towards the West, offered him refuge. But this was a fleeting phase. Soon, the deserts of Saudi Arabia beckoned. In Jeddah, a city worlds apart from Kampala's vibrancy, Amin lived a subdued life, miles away from the political machinations and international glare. The man who once reveled in the global limelight had become an echo of his former self. His final years, marked by silence and seclusion, stood in stark contrast to his tumultuous reign. And in 2003, the curtains finally fell on one of the 20th century's most enigmatic figures. Chapter 11. Legacy, a nation scarred but resilient. To understand Uganda today is to journey through its past, a past indelibly marked by Amin's rule. The scars, both visible and hidden, tell tales of a nation that faced the worst but never buckled. Roads, buildings, and monuments may have been rebuilt, but the memories linger, passed down from generation to generation. Yet, Uganda's spirit remained indomitable. Its people, while acknowledging their painful history, chose to rise, rebuild, and redefine their destiny. The bustling markets of Kampala, the verdant landscapes of its countryside, and the infectious optimism of its citizens are a testament to a resilience that refuses to be overshadowed by one dictator's reign. It's a beacon of hope for nations worldwide, proving that no matter how dark the night, dawn will always break. In the annals of history, the legacy of Idi Amin stands as a complex tapestry of ambition, power, and human frailty. It's a story not just of a man's meteoric rise and eventual fall, but of a nation's undying spirit. As we reflect upon this saga, we are reminded of the dual nature of power, its capacity to both uplift and destroy. Uganda's tale serves as both a cautionary tale and an ode to human resilience, a chapter that will continue to resonate for generations to come.